Hey guys, it's the MetaMinds boys here. Just wanted to jump in very quickly before this podcast kicks off. We just wanted to say that this episode is jam-packed full of crazy value. He literally blows our mind like a number of times in this episode. So if you're into business and marketing or have a personal brand of any kind, there's going to be huge value packed into this episode. And we just wanted to say at the very start here that there's a competition. He's going to be giving away 10 copies of his latest book. So listen to the end to listen to how you can get one of those. It's very time sensitive, so if you're one of the first ones here, then you might win it. So enjoy. Anything else you wanted to add?
No, just enjoy and stay tuned to the end for the details. Welcome back to the MetaMinds podcast, where we help you master your mindset. My name's Dan. I'm a fully qualified counselor.
And I'm Eamon, and I am a full-time video strategist.
And on today's episode, we have Scott Aaron with us. Scott's actually worked in the health and wellness industry for over 20 years now. He's run multiple gyms in Philadelphia, and then he actually dropped the LinkedIn book for network marketing. And only recently, he actually just released another book called The Network Marketing Academy. So I guess, welcome, firstly, Scott. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, guys. Pleasure to be here.
Great. Well, thank you. And let's start off with your new book. I'd love to hear about how that all came about and a little bit of a rundown maybe on what the book's about.
Yeah, so the latest book, the Network Marketing Academy, it was spurred from, I started a membership site a little over a year ago, January of 2019. There was a need for it because a lot of people were just at different points in their professional careers where they couldn't afford the investment to work with me directly or some of my virtual products. So what I took the model of having a gym and doing that 3 different times. I said, you know what, let me pick a reasonable price point where people can pay monthly, just like they would a gym membership. And I'll create a way where I can work with people in a group setting. I created a safe place on Facebook and in a private group, and I would release monthly content, do master classes every month, and they rotated between the 4 most important aspects that I feel for entrepreneurship, network marketing aside, but any entrepreneurial endeavor, which is mindset, becoming organized in your business, understanding social media, and creating leads. And I would do these weekly and monthly trainings. And towards the end of last year, I was talking to my future wife, and she goes, why don't you compartmentalize all this and put it into a book form and make it accessible for anybody? So it took me about 4 or 5 months to put together, and it's a picture book for adults. It's not a wordy book. There's a lot of infographics, explanations, and then there's an accountability exercise at the end of each section. So it's broken up into 4 categories: mindset, organizational skill, lead generation, and social media. Each section has 7 subsections where I go over different aspects of those. And there's a free workbook that anyone that gets the book can go to a website, put in your email, and then you get emailed a download where you can actually do the accountability exercise along with reading the book. So I loved that idea because I didn't want people to just read a book. My 2 previous books were just, you would just read them. They're just words, and you put things into action. This one is more of an action step and an action plan, because I wanted people to have forward momentum every time they turned a page. And that was the motivation behind it. And it hit #1 new release in its category in the first 2 days. And that's the second time that's happened. So I'm just grateful that people are just gobbling it up and putting it right into use.
Awesome. Well, firstly, congratulations that it was so successful so quickly.
Thank you.
And just to comment on that, it's interesting. Like when you do have a community like that, I think it doesn't matter how much information you put out there. I think one of the hardest things is actually getting them to take the action, right? Because you obviously want them to be successful as well. But what are the things that you can, brainstorm on that you can actually do to get them to take the action so they can be successful? Because it's I know myself, I listen to a lot of audiobooks, and sometimes it just goes in one ear and out the other because I'm just not in the space to be, taking action on that or whatever it is. So I think that's a really good idea that you've included actionable steps. And I've had, I definitely take the steps when I have books like that and take the time to sit down when I'm in a space that I can consume it in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I have bookshelves full of books, and they're all great, but the ones that I really always come back to are the ones that are giving me a plan of action. They're giving me those steps to move forward. And I always tell people the cure-all for feeling stuck is taking action. And whether it's moving forward a millimeter or a mile, as long as you're moving forward in some way, shape, or form, you're going to achieve your goals. So the whole goal of this book was to have it so that no matter what page you opened up to, there was an exercise or something to be learned where you can then put it into your business and see immediate traction from it.
Love it. And so just on that, like, who specifically is this book for? Do you have to be in a particular stage in your business, or like, you know, if you could choose one particular person in their stage of entrepreneurial endeavors, who's it for?
You know, it's funny. I've gotten feedback from people that are making no money in their business. To one of my clients and friends today, she makes $2.5 million a year in her business and said she's obsessed with it. So again, we all hear and learn things differently. So there are some things in this book that maybe you have heard before, but it's going to be spun a different way because it's my take on it. Because basically, I'm taking my experience, what I learned, and help me to grow all of my business and put it in here. So whether you're just starting out or whether you've been on your journey for 2, 3, 4, 10 years, it's always good to have something like this, you know, in your tool belt that can obviously help you to take that next step. So it's really for everybody.
Love it. That's good. And I was gonna ask why it's not an Audible, but obviously you mentioned it's quite visual, so that's obviously the reason for that.
Yes.
Great. Well, pulling it back to your original book, which is a best-selling book, the LinkedIn book for network marketing.
Yes.
So, by the sounds of it, it is focusing on network marketing. But for people out there who are also trying to maybe build a portfolio on LinkedIn, are there lots of different takeaway points and tips for people out there who are also trying to build their LinkedIn? And if so, would you be able to maybe give us a little bit of a rundown on some points that people could take away from this book and starting a LinkedIn?
Yeah, great question. And you know, the funny thing is, I've had people. I mean, the book's bought in about 12 different countries now, and from people from the nonprofit profession to sales, pharmaceutical sales, real estate, insurance, accounting, network marketing, business coaching. So the book, even though it says the LinkedIn book for network marketing, basically you can just cover the word network and it's the LinkedIn book for marketing. So if someone is looking to learn how to market themselves properly, you just have to insert different wordings in the book. It's just very interchangeable. And in the book, you learn something I call the layer cake of LinkedIn, which is basically the 4 tiers of how to gain organic and genuine success using LinkedIn, which is your profile, which there's a free download attached in the book, and people can go to my website for that. Searching and connecting for your ideal connection. You know, you're allowed 30,000 connections on LinkedIn, but what I have found is that people just start connecting with anyone and everyone, and you want to be specific in your business. You're not selling to everybody. You're looking to connect with certain people. So you need to make sure that every one of those connections is targeted, that is useful, that it could be a collaboration or you can create something with that connection, but then also speaking to people through messaging and then getting them on the phone. And this is where the wheels fall completely off for most people, because they end up sending these drunkalog messages that are 18 paragraphs long, and they're selling and they're pitching and check this link out, check this video, and you're just literally just pushing people away. You're not bringing them closer to you. You know, whenever you're listening to this, you know, going through this global pandemic right now, you know, we're on opposite ends of the world, but we're both experiencing this at the same time. And there's 2 things that people are craving so much right now. And number 1, it's connection.
Yep.
And number 2, it's community. People are just craving that right now. So it's our responsibility as entrepreneurs. It's our responsibility of thought leaders to welcome as many people into our network as possible with open arms and with empathy and sympathy, not selling and telling and pitching them and pushing them away. And then the other part of that is when you get on the phone with someone, you have to be the last one to talk. The problem that a lot of people have is that all they want to do is do the talking. They vomit all over people. And the person who listens most, asks the most questions, and talks the least is always going to come out victorious. So I go over the principle of how to actually talk to someone on the phone where you're not selling. You're actually creating a connection. The number one business building tool for any business, whether it's network marketing, coaching, whatever, it's human connection. It's not a funnel. It's not an email. It's not an opt-in. It's not any of that. It's connecting with real people. And then the fourth aspect is actually providing relevant content. The one big thing that I love about LinkedIn is the visibility and the depth of the amount of people that are actually engaging with your content. It trumps everything that's going on with Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok right now. The amount of organic engagement you're getting from LinkedIn, it's paramount, because when you're on that platform educating and informing your audience, not talking about what you want to talk about, but actually understanding what the marketplace needs and then filling that need with information that's educating and informative, you're going to, again, pull more people closer to you. So the book is a great infrastructure of how to understand conceptually how powerful LinkedIn can be if it's used the proper way.
It's crazy because like this whole connection element, like it's become so obvious to myself and Dan, especially in the last couple of years. We're younger, so we see kind of the market for what it is, and we see what the market does need. And it's can be much more obvious to us, but perhaps people that have been in business for a long time or people that are fresh getting into business, they don't see that. And I think this whole connection element is relatively new in the grand scheme of business. Like 40, 50 years ago, you could just shout what you're selling and, people would buy it because there would be less competition. But now it's like you have to actually provide a foundation of value, and that comes in the form of connection and education, as you said. And I think it's very clear to see that the people who are winning are the people that are doing that thing. And so, and as you mentioned, LinkedIn, especially in the last kind of 2 years or so, it's really become the platform for that, which is great to see, because before that, I think it wasn't flourishing as much as it could have been,
Yeah, Facebook and Instagram it really spoiled people between 2012 and 2016. It was it was just an open market. You could literally put a post up and people would buy whatever you were selling. LinkedIn, just like you said, made a big shift back in 2014, 2015 when Microsoft bought them out. When Microsoft bought them out, it changed the game. People still say, isn't LinkedIn for, finding a job and recruiters? And well, yeah, that's part of it. And that's what it was used for, but not anymore. It's content creators, it's thought leaders, it's educators, it's business coaches, people on there looking to network. The way that I describe what's going on with social media, LinkedIn is a global networking event every single time you log on. How I connected with you guys was through someone that connected with me on LinkedIn, introduced me to his platform of matchmaker.fm, found you guys on there, sent you a message, and here we are. And it's all about networking. And I think that's what people, they so want to just message people and DM people. They don't want to get on a Zoom or get on a phone call and connect with people. That's the number one business building tool. And Facebook is more of like it's a barbecue. It's where people go to hang out. What's going on in life, what's going on with family, and what food I'm eating, where I'm traveling. And then Instagram is basically a reality TV show. That's where people go to kind of get lost in other people's lives. And TikTok it's like a game show. It's basically let's see who can dance. And again, it's entertainment. But I always ask people, if you have a business that you're looking to grow, where is your tribe? where are your people hanging out? Are they dancing on TikTok? Are they taking glam shots on Instagram? Are they complaining about the weather and traffic on Facebook? Or are they networking with other business-minded people on LinkedIn? So when you start asking yourself these questions, it becomes clear where you need to spend your time.
Yeah, definitely. And for me, it's really interesting because similar to what Eamon said, like I set up my LinkedIn profile to kind of have a nice kind of presenting piece for potential employers, but also I set it up as like an additional kind of, what would you say, like an online presentation of me and what I've got to offer and, and who I am basically.
Yes.
And I definitely noticed that transition to more organic reach. And like you said, Facebook brought them out and now it's kind of like its own standalone social network on its own right. Like it's not just for employers. So just a random theoretical question for you. I guess I'm curious, how do you think LinkedIn is gonna stay relevant moving forward? What, like, obviously right now they've got a really big chunk of the pie, but what's going to happen in the future with LinkedIn, do you think?
Well, the funny thing is they're still they're the oldest social media platform, but they're the smallest. There's only 600 million people actively using LinkedIn, and the reason that Microsoft, they're a cybersecurity company, they're a technology company, so they have a much different outlook on the platform as opposed to Mark Zuckerberg, who owns Facebook and Instagram, and they're taking a more strategic approach. Video content is number one right now on LinkedIn. I mean, it's going through the roof. That's the number one place to digest and consume video content. It's on LinkedIn right now. It's become much more user friendly. It's okay to network, and they're always staying on the ball as far as what's relevant and making it readily available to everyone on the free platform, where you don't have to spend $1 on there. You don't have to run LinkedIn ads like you do on Facebook and Instagram to get visible. Anyone on there, no matter what income level you're at, no matter how experienced or inexperienced you are, you have the same shot to getting the credibility, the visibility, and the reach that someone else does that's a CEO of a Fortune 50 company. And anyone is open to talking. You read, so many people are reachable on LinkedIn, some high profile people that you would never think would make themselves available. They're literally a message away. So I think what the advances of LinkedIn, they're keeping it protected, they're keeping it intimate, and they're making sure that the trolls that hang out on other social media platforms aren't getting on there, and they're kicking those kind of people off. They don't want people selling. They want people connecting. They're big into human connection and organic reach and keeping things as natural as possible, and it's only going to get better.
I love that. And yeah, I think, the idea of kind of providing connection as opposed to just like, it's interesting because it's not that much harder to actually go that extra step from the way that you're framing it, but, I'm definitely guilty of it as well, where you just send someone like a message and you just crush out 50 of those and maybe one will get back to you, and then it will just turn to a dead lead because you haven't actually created the foundation of connection there, but it's just little things like potentially reaching out like, hey, I'm interested in your business. I'd love to like just have a quick Zoom call, see if we can maybe connect, or, just want to hear about your business. Like, and just that little extra difference, maybe if that person gets 20 DMs in that day, they can be like, oh, I want to, maybe this guy's, something. But, as I said, I'm guilty of doing it myself because your mind is awfully lazy and it would take the quickest route. But yeah, when you do take that extra step, which it's not that much to actually go the extra mile to connect, then it's like, that's when you're actually going to get the results.
When you treat what you're doing like an investment and not a lottery ticket, it takes on new meaning. Because think of the most people, just like, not using you as an example, but most people, they're treating their business like a lottery ticket. I'm just going to send out as many messages as I can. I'm just going to copy and paste and do all this and just hope the sky opens up and drops money into my lap. And you got to treat it like an investment where you're making those daily deposits. You're letting the compounded effect take place. And Les Brown actually says it best. He says those that take the easiest road will create and live the hardest life, but those that take the hardest road will create and live the easiest life. So I've always been that person to make themselves willing to take the hardest road possible to create the easiest and most epic life possible. So I'm willing to do whatever is required, work my butt off as much as I need to, get on as many podcasts as I can, do as many free trainings as possible, give away as much as I can to get to where I deserve to be. And that's by pouring into people, not asking for anything back in return, giving as much as I can, because those that give are the ones that get. And I live by that principle.
I just want to comment that it's fantastic that you do live by that principle. And, I think especially in today's market where everything is so flooded and everyone is trying to do something, which is awesome, but it becomes very obvious because there's a huge gap between the ones that are like genuinely doing it with in the way that you're doing it, and all of the others, whether they're doing it intentionally or they're doing it because they just want quick money, or they're doing it because they're not educated. There is most of the market is doing it that way. And a small portion of the market is doing it your way. And it's great to have more leaders that are actually doing that thing, because I think that's how we're going to kind of revolutionize, business as a whole. So it's really good.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. And a thing that I find really interesting as well is, you just before when you were talking about the raw connection that you can get through LinkedIn. So you can connect with people from all walks of life. And like you said, you can reach out to people who you would probably not be able to find on any other social network. And the thing that I found interesting as well is it came across to me that what you're trying to say is you've got to put value out into the world as well. Like you can't just constantly be selling. You can't constantly just be trying to find the right person and go, oh, I've got a product for you. This could be perfect for you. And I guess one thing that really stood out to me, and you didn't specifically say it, but it sounds like you really need to listen to people as well. Like you need to be a good listener. Now, I guess I'm curious about that. Is that something that resonates with you? Do you have any other things that are important as well?
100, you hit it right on the head, because when, I spent 18 years as a personal trainer, doing an average of 70 to 80 hours a week. So close to 65,000 hours of one-on-one time with people. And when you spend that much time with people, you become a really good listener. Because, as a personal trainer, for those that may know this, you end up becoming a therapist, because, people come in and they want to get off whatever's on their chest and they want to have a great workout. So I ended up falling in love with human connection, but also listening, because what I realized is that people were coming to me with a problem. And not only were they paying for my time to work out with me, but they wanted a solution. The trust was built. The wall of resistance was down. They felt comfortable with me where, there was numerous clients where I actually found out they were pregnant before their husband even found out, because, well, as a trainer, I have to know that so I can adjust their workouts. But you want to talk about trust, they easily could have canceled the session, not come in, and then came in after the news. But that's the kind of trust that I built with my clients. So when you can really listen to someone, not think about, what am I going to say next? Because that's what most people do, is that they're looking at someone, they're talking, and they're really not listening to anything they're saying. They're like, all right, I want to say this next sentence. I'm just going to wait for them to be done, and I'm just going to say what I want to say. But when you can really listen to what someone is saying, you can create connection. And even when I do a podcast interview, I just ask questions, and I'll take some notes, and I'll hear what the person is saying, and I'll be like, you mentioned, just like you did, about, listening to people. When you can listen to someone, the two things that really matter most is, most people love to hear themselves talk. That's just, the people like to talk and they like to hear themselves talk. But number two, people love being listened to, because when someone that you're speaking to is actually taking an interest in what you're saying, it automatically builds a rapport with that person where, like, you know what? I can talk about anything with this person. So the best business minds out there are also some of the greatest listeners, because they will sit there, they will not try to overshadow that person and make them feel this big. They will actually sit there and let that person talk and hear what they're struggling with. They will listen to them to see if there's anything they can do for them, how they can serve them, how can they better their lives. And, to your point, provide value added information or content on social media where they're left better. So it's all about listening to what someone wants, not what you need.
And just to build on that as well, I think it's not actually that hard to listen. It's just that a lot of people don't listen, and for whatever reason, either it's their ego or they're just trying to sell something. And I'll use myself as an example here as well. I can't tell how many sales meetings I've been in, whether I'm just trying to remember all these different things that I have to say in the sales meeting to ensure that they hear all the value that I have to offer so that they can buy my thing. And I just, as you mentioned, like word vomit all over them without even actually listening to what their problem is. So I'm trying to solve this problem over here, but they don't even have that problem. They've got this problem. But because I haven't been actively listening to what they're saying, then I'm like, well, yeah, but here, I can solve this problem for you over here. And they're like, well, like, no, and you just blow the sale completely because you're not actually listening to them. I suppose my comment there is it's not even that hard as long as you're really aware of it and you're really listening to that client. Like, it's going to be that much easier to get clients and to solve their problems so that they're going to come back to you and provide word of mouth, like, recommend you to other people. Literally everyone wins when you just listen to people. So
there's a magic question that any sales professional can ask that will automatically up-level your closing rate with anything that you're doing. And the question is, what is your company's biggest need right now? Whenever you ask that question, that company is revealing their hand, because they're going to tell you exactly what they're looking for. And if you're a good active listener, you're going to take mental notes on what their need is, and then your entire presentation is built around filling the void of their need and how you can help them with that. So they're automatically going to want to be interested and want to say yes, because you filled a void for a need that they already told you they have. And just like you said, the mistake that people make, they're not listening to the need of the company. They're talking about the want of what you can do for them, even if it's not what they're looking for. So always ask what their need is first, and then you fill the void of what you can do for them to fill that need.
And the other thing is, as you mentioned, like, they're not going to be like hiding this information from you because they want to be talking about themselves. They actually have a pain point. They want to express that pain point. So when you ask that question, they're going to tell you, and they're going to tell you everything about that problem because they want that problem to be solved. And potentially you're the person to solve it. So you're right.
There will be times, and this happens to me all the time. I'll get someone on the phone, and they'll be like, "All right, give me the spiel. Tell me what this is all about." So what they'll do is they'll try to get control of the conversation. That doesn't work with me.
No.
As soon as they say that, I'll say, "Great, I would love to tell you more. Tell me what your business's biggest needs are right now. Where are you struggling most, and where are you looking to improve?" And then it goes right back into how I would normally do it. So I diffuse, because again, that's two things. People are on the defensive, but number two, that person has obviously been over pitched to.
Yeah.
So they don't want to just hear another sales pitch. So I take the pitch away and I bring the need to the surface. What's your need? Because then my entire conversation with them is about filling their needs. Then they're more comfortable actually hearing about how I could potentially help them.
Loving it. There's so much value in this conversation. So to pivot a little bit, you talked about the 4 pillars, basically. I think we've talked a lot about mindset and social media as well. I would love to hear a little bit of some of your strategies around kind of lead generation and, obviously without getting into the specific technical things on Facebook ads and that kind of thing.
Well, so I'm big on organic, leads. I don't pay for leads, and LinkedIn, I still have an average of 15 to 20 calls every single week. And it's very simplistic, and it's a numbers game. I read an amazing book by Andrea Waltz and Richard Fenton about 5 years ago called Go for No. And I'll still read it at least once a year. It's one of the number one all-time selling sales books of all time. Andrea has actually become a good friend of mine. And the book teaches you that yes is the destination, but no is how you get there. So it was reframing my thought about how business needs to be. Everyone wants to get that yes because the yes feels the best, right? But we're told no an average of 25 to 30 times more than the word yes. So the whole thought behind this book is reverse it. Fall in love with no. Go for all the no's because then the yeses will show up because there's no emotional attachment to that word no. People have such an emotional crippling feeling when they're told no. I love the word no because I know I'm one step closer to yes. So when I thought about this, I said, where can I apply this go for no mentality on social media where I can get people on the phone and actually hear them tell me yes or no? Wasn't Facebook, wasn't Instagram, and it's definitely not going to be TikTok. So when I started realizing that everyone is looking for themselves. So when I was growing my business, who was I looking for? I was looking for other wellness professionals. I was looking for other personal trainers, gym owners. I was looking for other business coaches, other entrepreneurs. So I started utilizing LinkedIn to grow a network of connections that looked just like me. They were like me, but they didn't have something that I could offer them. But I wasn't looking to sell them. I was looking to build a network because Gary Vaynerchuk actually says it best. He says, your network is in direct correlation to your net worth. So if you have a small network, chances are you're going to have a small net worth because you don't have any chances for income. But the larger the network that you have, the larger net worth you could create. So I really started embodying that. I grew a huge network. It's up to 28,000 connections now on LinkedIn from about 500 that I had just about 3.5, 4 years ago. But it's also the rhythm of messaging people. And again, I think this is where people really, really lose it. How to create a lead is to make people comfortable with how you're reaching out to them. Leads are created by the way that you first contact that person. People don't understand that first touch of that new connection is the most important one because it's either going to open the door or it's going to keep it shut. And if you don't reach out to someone the right way, that door's never going to open. So I have something called the magic formula, and it's a 3-step process. So if you want to create more leads and you want to message people, and you can use this magic formula method on Instagram, you can use it on Facebook, but I use it on LinkedIn. That's where it was created. And it's 3 steps. Step 1, if you're going to reach out to someone, you always mention their name. Hey, Steve, great to be connected to you. The second part of the magic formula is letting the person know why you've reached out without trying to sell them or pitch them, but creating a connecting point between the two people. So if I was reaching out to Steve because he was also a podcast host and a business coach, I would mention that in the second part of the magic formula. I noticed that you're also a podcast host and business coach, as am I. Would love to hear about your business and how things are going. Share more about me and mine to see how we can best support each other here on the platform. And then the third part is you finish with your call to action, your CTA. Questions lead to answers. So if I was just to make a statement and say, Steve, just let me know when's good for you to talk. He's never going to let me know because I've never actually asked. So you have to ask to get. You have to ask in order to get. So I would basically finish with, do you have any time this or next week for a call? State their name, reason for reaching out, and then a call to action. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? They're going to say not interested. What's the best case? Yes. And then you can start getting people on the phone. You can start forming those relationships. You can ask questions that lead to answers. You listen more, you talk less. And that's the very simplistic way of how to create leads on LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's great. So we can see here, like, this is our first time meeting you as well, but I can personally see, how much growth you've gone through as well. Like, you're obviously educating yourself through reading different books, and you're also trying to push the boundaries in your own space as well. And I guess what I'm curious to do is kind of cast our minds back to when you actually were running multiple gyms. And if you were to give advice to a younger Scott, now that you're in this position now, like, what kind of advice would you give Scott?
The only, like, because I've overcome a lot in in owning these gyms. So I mean, the long or the short, just to give you all the obstacles, how I got into the gym business. My father ended up getting incarcerated for 2.5 years in federal prison for insurance fraud. So I had to step in as an 18-and-a-half-year-old kid to take over the family business. So I learned from a very early age to be resilient and to overcome obstacles. So the one thing that I would tell my younger self, like, now that I've gone through that, making millions, losing a house, getting divorced twice, having to file for bankruptcy, all these things, and then still coming back out on top, I would tell my younger self, I would say there is no obstacle that is going to be too big for you to overcome. And that's probably the biggest thing that I've been taking away, is that whether it's a global pandemic, whether it's me being financially bankrupt or losing this or whatever it is, it's okay, because the next day is a brand new day to start something brand new, to create a different outcome. So as long as we keep moving forward, there's nothing that you can't accomplish. The only way to fail is to quit, and that is not in my DNA.
I love that. And I think, like, it's really shows that your first pillar is mindset, because I think, doesn't matter how much strategy you have, doesn't matter how well your execution is on business, if you don't have that mindset. And that's been a big taking away from my personal business journey as well, that it's like, you can get beaten down one day, but if you stay in that beaten down state, then you are not going to get anywhere. But if you pick yourself back up again and you go, yep, no, let's go again. It's okay. Let's fail again. Let's go again. And so yeah, that definitely speaks to me. I appreciate that point for sure.
Yeah, it's the top-down method. The most sacred place that we all have is not in our hearts. It's actually the 6 inches between our ears, and your thoughts will either make or break you. So I'm very, very mindful of my thoughts and my visions and my goals and how I show up each and every day. And people don't understand how powerful our mind is. We literally could, like, everyone needs to understand everything that we utilize, computers, Zooms, phones, cars, it all spurred from a thought that someone had in that 6-inch space between their ears, and they put pen to paper, they started putting things around it, and then they created something. And the beautiful thing about that is, The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale, one of my favorite books that I read very early on, he said that ideas are free. They're free. If you take a note card and you write down 5 or 6 ideas a day, you do that for a whole year, you're going to have $1 million business on one of those cards.
Well, I'll start today then.
Yeah.
So, Scott, I'm sure we could continue talking for hours and hours, and we're getting so much value out of this, and hopefully our listeners are as well. You mentioned you're all about actionable content, and so are we. So, for example, if someone has listened to this and they're getting really excited by some of the things that you're talking about, and they're in the B2B space or even B2C, what are some direct actions that they could take besides purchasing both of your books from Amazon that could potentially, what would be some actionable steps that you would recommend?
Yeah, I'm very omnipresent on social media. So on Facebook and LinkedIn, I'm under Scott Aaron, and on LinkedIn or on Instagram, it's at Scott Aaron LinkedIn. Or my website houses everything, scottaaron.net. It's got my podcast, my books. There's a couple free downloads there. And, something that I wanted to do for you and your listeners is I did want to give away 10 free copies of my new book, The Network Marketing Academy. And all you guys need to do is the first 10 people that screenshot this and send it to the MetaMinds Instagram handle. The first 10 people that do that, they're going to pick those winners. They're going to let me know who they are, and I'm going to send you a copy of the new book as a thank you for really taking part in listening to the program.
That's awesome. You're a legend. And so, yeah, just to clarify that with everyone, any social media, anywhere, just screenshot wherever you're listening to this. Make sure to post it, tag us in it. We're MetaMinds Cast everywhere. and you'll be receiving a free marketing book, which is going to be amazing value for you, and obviously a lot of actionable content in there. So just one more question that popped into my head. You're obviously in the information kind of business. You're selling information, and that's a really interesting space that obviously everyone wants to get into because it's quite profitable, very high margins, and perceived to be low effort as such. You don't really have to go out and physically sell vacuums or whatever it is that you're doing. What's potentially one or two like major tips? Perhaps again that you would give youngest yourself advice to if someone's getting into the information selling space.
Yeah, so I'll share the most powerful thing that I've heard recently by my buddy Eric Malzone, and we were just on a catch-up call the other day, and we're putting together a high-level mastermind, an online summit, and we were just kind of brainstorming. He goes, we really gotta figure out what our pick and axe product is. And I'm like, whoa. I'm like, rewind that. What do you mean your pick and axe product? He goes, I was talking to someone the other day, and they were talking about the gold rush back in the 20s and 30s in the United States, when everybody was flooding over to the West Coast and the hills of California to go search for gold. And I said, yeah. And he goes, well, this guy was telling me, he asked me, he goes, do you know who the most successful people were? And I was like, well, yeah, probably the people that found the most gold. He goes, no, it was actually the people that sold the pick and axes to the people that were actually going to go look for the gold. Because whether those people found the gold or not, they needed a pick and axe in order to find it. And I was like, dude, that's brilliant. So my suggestion for anyone that's looking to get into the online marketing or this technology phase that we're going in, coaching and consulting, is really think about what your pick and axe product is. I'm working with a client of mine. He's 17, and he's coming up with a mindset course right now for millennials, which is just, he blows my mind every week because he's putting slides together and he's coming up with course names and accountability exercises. Once you find that pick and axe product that, again, is filling the need and a void that a lot of people are having, because, again, my business was created by accident, but actually on purpose, because I found out that a lot of people were struggling with two things. Number one, learning how to create organic leads, and number two, how to use LinkedIn, and that was combined with my program, so it fits with a lot of people. So my advice to the listeners is really just sit with this and think about some things that you're really good at, that you have a little bit of an edge over other people, and what that pick and axe product is that could help a lot of people. The people that succeed the most are the ones that serve the marketplace the best, the ones that create something that is really going to move that needle for somebody else. That's what people need to think about.
Right. Well, that's awesome. I think that's a really good point to end there.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Thank you so much, Scott, for joining us today, and thank you everyone who has listened to this episode. Like we said before, all you've got to do is take a screenshot of where you're listening to this episode, post it on social media, and you can have a chance to win Scott's new book. Thank you so much. Good luck with everything that's going on your end. Really great to chat, and I'm sure we'll connect again at some point.
Really appreciate it, Scott. Any parting words?
No, just grateful for the both of you, and making this happen. Obviously it's a bit of a time difference, but I make time for the things that are most important to me, and I know you guys do the same. And it was important for me to connect with you guys and collaborate and do this podcast. So I really love what you guys are doing, and just want to wish you both continued success, and looking forward to collaborating more in the future.
Awesome. Thank you very much again, man. Legend.
Absolutely.
Thanks, buddy.